Hello and welcome to the impzonepod podcast. We are back once again. Now we are talking about the recent live episode that just recently aired today. And they did announce the new, or not the new, but the upcoming shows in Orlando that are officially going to be live shows on the episode today. So that is good. Believe that with the taping tomorrow, that they will get like a couple of weeks worth of TV out of it. I'm assuming. So there's a lot of news coming out of this show, and it's one of those things. Again, we're just like thinking about like Sacrifice. I think that's the next upcoming show, or maybe there's something else happening soon in February. Perhaps I'm not sure. But we'll have to wait and see. Like, again, it's very difficult to say because it's like there hasn't been anything announced yet, and perhaps they will like announce it at that point. So it's like, well, we can't tell until then. So, and just like maybe like slowing down or just like taking a little bit of a break and or going this route and again having just more live TV episodes will be well worth it. Like, we did see that tonight, or whatever, this afternoon, today, whatever time that it actually aired, for you and wherever you are. They were absolutely on fire tonight. Absolutely on fire. And this is why I think, they needed to do this, in my opinion. This was another sort... It's not a gamble, but it is a bit of a gamble, in a sense. And again, we haven't gotten the official, like, numbers from this broadcast episode. We'll probably get them in a few days, so we'll have to talk about it a bit later on as well again. But still, that is fine. Like, it will come up. But I do feel like there's not much to say about, like, the upcoming shows. Like, there's some matches announced here and there and whatnot and this sort of thing, but we have to talk about this show, man. We have to talk about this show. A lot of big things happened here tonight, and one of the things that I kind of want to, like, not nail, but sort of nail down a little bit is the whole situation with the digital media title. Now, we already talked about PCO and the whole situation there with that, him destroying the title, or a replica effectively of what it was. So this time we got Steph DeLander. She's back, and it's nice to see her back. I don't know whether she's like actually gonna return to in-ring action anytime soon, which is a bit odd in some ways to be like, she's gonna have the title. That makes some amount of sense to some degree, I guess. And I know that they're like, to some degree, it like there's a lot of holes there, obviously, because again, but I think that this could be solved pretty easily. Honestly, I do feel like, anyone who jumps to conclusions, or anyone who says, "Oh, they can't do that," or whatever, this and that, and blah blah blah. Like, what are they meant to do? Like, PCO wasn't gonna turn up and defend the title, like, that he smashed or whatever, or even turn up to, be on the show. And they, even if he was going to turn up, were they going to allow him to turn up or, go out there and work after what he did? Probably not. And, like, they had to do something. And, like, again, they, like, the only logical option here in some sense is, like, to say either it's vacated or that, hey, Steph might have it. Because she got it in the divorce somehow or whatever. Because that was the storyline that they were having for a while there. So we know that Steph had her surgery, and we know she's on the road to recovery, so we do hope for the best. And it's not like some of these surgeries, they do take a while, but I believe that surgery was quite a while ago now. I don't remember exactly when it was. It was back just after she'd faced Jordan Grace. So actually, it was back in basically just about Slammiversary time. So that was like 6 months ago. But obviously, so somewhat obviously, she has to be somewhat ready to go in some ways. They wouldn't have just put the belt on her. Maybe they would have just put the belt on her, but like honestly, like I don't feel like they would. But again, like that doesn't make sense to me. Like they wouldn't start this story without some other reason to do it. Like, and so obviously they're gonna make her, defend it very soon, probably next week or probably very soon after that at least. So that, if you're wandering around with this title saying, hey, I'm the champion, well, you didn't even earn it, so, you've got to actually earn it and win the title to be officially considered the champion or something or whatever else it is. Much like Moose. Moose was like running around with the old TNA title for quite a while, a couple of years ago, and claiming to be the champion, and he was running around with that for like, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, maybe even longer, before he was actually, uh, designated as the champion for a few months or whatever it was. So that was a bit crazy, but still, it is what it is. Um, I think it's kind of cool in this regard to kind of see this, because the only other person, or the only person, but the only other woman or knockout to hold that title thus far, in my recollection, has been Jordan Grace. So it's like, it hasn't really been a women's title per se. I do kind of feel like it should kind of be a women's title, kind of, because, as I keep saying, I just don't see the point in the tag team division. I really like the Knockouts tag team division. I really feel like it's like, even though they've debuted a few people now, that fixes up some of the like mid card, upper card sort of things. Perhaps it doesn't really fix up the tag team situation that much. Although, again, like, you could still, like, try to do stuff there. And if you're getting some NXT people in, it can freshen things up. So you might not need as many people to kind of go around. But then again, you still need, like, people coming in, and you're getting Wesley and his crew, whatever. I don't even know. I don't even think they have a name or what, like, as a unit. They're just, like, buddies or whatever. They didn't call them a name, like a tag team name, I'm trying to say. I'm sure they called them by name, but I just like didn't catch that. But yeah, like, this is one of those things. It's like, if they start to focus on the digital media title being like a mid-card knockouts title, I would be 100% fine with that. Scrap the tag team division and like let people build themselves up in that space of trying to get the digital media title or whatever, and then go for the knockouts title after that. It's tough again, because again, you're sort of separating people into two kind of levels of being like underneath the digital media title and then above it, or being the digital media title holder themselves and then being like, are you in contention or aren't you? And it's like, well, we've got to have people for Marsha to go through, at least for now, and until we find somebody who is that person that is like, okay, I'm going to wreck shit. And like, I'm pretty sure, like, we're going to see Marsha and Cora Jade at some point. So that's, probably on the pay-per-view, probably. I'm just trying to think who, what, where, how, why is going to be the rest, kind of thing, I guess. And I kind of feel like the Northern Armory, or Sinner and Saint, whatever they're going to be called from now on, they have a big opportunity in that tag team space, but it feels really weird in that tag team space right now, because there's almost no one that the Hardys haven't already beaten. So that's a little bit awkward. Maybe like uh, Eric Young and Steve Macklin, or maybe like somebody like some Franken team of some sort, or whatever else. Yeah, sure, whatever. But like other than that, they've pretty much beaten everyone. Oh, besides like Hammerstone and Jake something. But yeah, like one of those people is injured, so it's like, yeah, again, like, and he's having to come back from that injury. So again, you might have to rely on bringing some NXT people in, and or at least like saying, hey, well, let's not just, you know, have like some of these guys lose like that easily, and like or let's start a feud, or let's start a story, or let's do something to, you know, like, I don't know, keep somebody hot, keep Moose and JDC hot, or just say to, Moose, say, hey, well, if I'm ever going to tag with somebody, I might just tag with Eddie because, you know, he doesn't let me down, or whatever, or something, Whereas you guys, you keep letting me down, I don't know. It's tough to say that kind of thing, or whatever it is, but you might just do it. But yeah, nearly everything on this show, probably besides this bit with Steph, was like 10 out of 10. I think like this bit perhaps was maybe a little bit lower, just because there is that like little bit of like I'm sure everyone was pleased to see Steph initially, but then it's like this heel turn, and it's kind of cool because it's like, well, I think she does work better as a heel, and now she's sort of coming into her own, more as herself, not just being, I don't know, what did you want to call it, like, I can't quite put my finger on it, but like, yeah, I don't know what, like, just she still had that feeling of like before the story with PCO, perhaps, of being like, you're not quite there, you're not quite ready as a person, or you're not quite 100% yourself, or you're not quite the character that you kind of need to be, not quite as polished as what you need to be. You haven't quite got your timing, or your kind of the things that make your character. Like, a lot of those things, I think, started to form during that PCO storyline, and whatnot. She really sort of started to come into her own. It sort of more became about her. It became much more a focus on her. She became much more of a character. In that storyline, she was doing a lot less wrestling, probably for for obvious reasons. But like, it gave her the chance to shine, and it gave her the chance to actually show her personality in a sense, and it gave her that time to, sort of connect with the audience, and the audience to connect with her, because like before it was just kind of, you're here and, you exist, like, kind of thing. And it like, yes, she was doing some good stuff, like she was doing some good heel work or whatever, but until that moment where you actually have a connection to the character, or have a reason to hate, or to like the character, or to understand the character, or have some like understanding of who this character is more deep down, or whatever, or more, even more broadly. Like, without that, you just haven't have a person in front of you who is there. Like, and I do feel like they did this with the Rascals, like a while back, when they turned babyface. It was like, oh, so there's no real reason why they're babyface now. It's just like, they're babyface now. But the fans, like, picked it up because they like those guys, and they've been watching them for decades and decades now. Or, well, not really, but you know what I mean. They've been watching them for a long time, and it's like, yeah, we want to see these guys kick some butt. But, and again, I get that perspective of people's like saying, oh, you shouldn't just put the title on somebody or whatever else, just, whatever it is. But again, that title wasn't really being defended for a while anyway, so it's like when was I think the last time PCO defended it was against Matt Cardona several months ago. So it's like he should have vacated it anyway. I mean, they should have had, like I said before, they should have had something more for PCO to do, and maybe they did, but then again, he missed a couple of dates or whatever it was. So shit happens. Like that happens. You can't do anything about that. That's, but again, like without having some plan for people to do stuff with the belt, or whatever, and they probably had plans for him to drop the title to somebody, on this show or on the next show, maybe, I don't know. But whatever it was, those plans went up in smoke and whatnot. They might have had the plans to put it on this new guy, Mansoor, or whoever he is. But yeah, like I think like the Mansoor debut, whatever this young guy's name is, that's where I think this sort of did a little bit of a dip, because he's just such a smaller indie, like not smaller in terms of size or whatever, but he's a smaller named indie guy that most people like don't really know. So it's like, who's this guy again? Like, so you're getting this angle, which is good. You're getting this angle, and you're getting a very like fairly established character in Steph, introducing this guy to take on Callahan. And it's good to see that they're going to do something with Callahan too, because it's like, I like Callahan, and like I feel like Callahan wasn't doing anything, kind of, and like this storyline was almost there, where he's going to face whoever 23 was. It's apparently 23 is Steph, and it's not the person who debuted, which is weird. But I do think that it is. It doesn't really matter. It's just, that again, that device of saying, tune in, you don't know what's going to happen. And there were so many surprises here on tonight. And like, this was like, maybe this was like a little bit less than all of them, or a little bit less than all the other moments, but it's still good in some regards. Even though I don't agree with every single thing here, it's like, again, you start thinking like, well, what else could they have done or whatever, and it's like, yeah, it's a tough situation, so, they could have vacated it, I guess, again, but that's sort of, and then you've got to set up a tournament or something like that. I think just having a story or having a reason for, like, even a somewhat bad reason, which some people might say it is, to have it on Steph is like, yeah, okay, well, let's start fresh from here, and let's, debut this new guy, and then let's, start from here and see what we can do with this. And again, like, if they put, like, and hopefully they will, put more into it. And I think, like, again, like, Steph was a great character during that whole PCO thing. And I think, again, now that they don't have Jordan and they don't have a lot of these other people, she's like one of the few other people that are kind of on the roster right now that that's in the women's division or the knockouts division, that I could see being like one of the next top wrestlers or, knockouts champions. And that's perhaps why they've given her this. Like, she was great as the last year in that story, and I think she was like pretty good, and I think like she's now sort of, like, as I said, coming into her own. So I think if they give her a good digital media title run and then give her like a short period of time to get to the knockouts title, she could be like up there. Like, she could be up there with being like on the same level as Jordan and Marsha and whoever else is like going to be the top women in the division. I still really like Tasha Steelz. I think that she doesn't get nearly enough TV time. There's a lot of people that are on that roster that just don't get the time or the space or whatever else it is to really shine. Unfortunately, sometimes. But now you have that opportunity. You have that opportunity to say, okay, let's do something with this. Let's, see where this goes, or let's see what we're going to do or how we're going to do this. Yeah, it's one of those things of, like, you look at the return of Mustafa Ali, like that, like, and him signing with TNA. That's great. Big W there, absolutely huge W there. You see the return of Matt Cardona, and I think Matt Cardona is probably only here for this show just to have a match with Hendry and put him over. Maybe, I don't know. It is what it is. You see the return of Wesley, and his goons or whatever, debuting in Impact, crossing the line. So, you've got your main event with Hendry and that. It's like, you got the Hardys, you've got a whole bunch of the big stars, and you've got a whole bunch of just, like, guys from NXT, Fraxium, you've got Cora Jade coming out to start a feud, or a short feud probably, with Marsha. She's probably going to get fed to Marsha pretty soon, as I sort of was thinking. So you've got a lot of, like, good things going here. You've got a lot of little things going, and you've got, like, saying, okay, well, we're going to have Josh Alexander perform in one last match, kind of on on TV. You get a promo from Tessa, and you get all these things that give people the reason to be like, holy crap, what, this is a show, and that's what I'm seeing, which is good. Like, I'm seeing a lot of positive feedback. There's probably negative feedback out there, for sure, but I've seen a lot of positive feedback from this show. Really, so that's good. And it's like, I've just seen a lot of people saying the only thing they really need is to have a better distribution, and do this more, like, because, like, the gamble's paid off, in my opinion, because if you're, like, the amount of people that tuned in, perhaps, like, it wasn't, like, where you wanted it to be. I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. But again, just the buzz and the discussion that's, turned out, from this is, like, friggin' ridiculous. Like, and people are still talking about it. So, it's been a well-received thing. And again, they're doing it next month. So, and, I actually saw this the other day, and I almost forgot to talk about it, but I believe that they sold out. Was it Sacrifice? I believe. So, let's see if I can find this somewhere, because I did write it down, or did have it down to discuss. If I can find it. Where is it? Why you hide from me? Why you hide from me? Somewhere in here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Sacrifice and the TNA Impact the day after are both sold out. So there you go. So we don't even need to hype up buying tickets for that event at this point. They have sold out. Like, Rebellion and Slammiversary. Yes, we've still got to work on those, and we've got to work on the next live episode, which is in February. But that's fine still as well. But still, like, all we've got to do for Sacrifice and the day, well, not the day after, I guess, but for Sacrifice is try to get people to buy the pay-per-view. So, and with the hype that this live show and the next live show in theory will get, because it'll be like roughly equal, probably thereabouts, like, is good. Like, and again, like, showcasing that yes, we can do this. We can go live. We can put on live shows without much hiccups, and everything flows. And like, maybe not everyone got their time this week or whatever it is, but that's not the thing that you need to do. You need to have a amount of people that are on this week and then next week. Unfortunately, some people miss out on their chance, but it is what it is. And again, I will say that I don't know, it was how many days was it? Like, maybe a couple of days, maybe a week, because it was like the day before, I think, Genesis, or a couple of days before Genesis, that PCO broke that title. So they had, and then they had Genesis. So they had to have that show and be like, okay, we've got to do this, we've got to get through this, and then they probably had that next week worth of going, right, well, we've got to figure out exactly what we're doing. And then, like, oh, what's 23? We were having this debut with this person, and I don't know whether it was still the same person or what it was, because we were thinking it was a tag team, and this sort of thing, but it wasn't. Like, I in theory, in some ways, I feel like it would have been Mace or whoever, whatever this guy's name is, and he would have won the digital media title, perhaps off PCO or something like that. Like, I don't know, that's a bad way to debut somebody in some ways. Like, it is good in some ways, but it's also bad in some ways, because it's just like, wow, you're really hot-shotting this person like that. Like, it underpins the devaluing somewhat of the title in some ways. Like, it's like, oh, anyone could win it, like, just even on debut. But I get Mustafa Ali kind of did the same thing ish, but still, it's like, especially with a young, well, I'm sure he's been around for a while on the indies and whatnot, but for a less established character and somebody that the fans really haven't got to know yet, it's like, yes, you can, like, the thing is, this is the thing, like, I was talking about, like, Steph connecting through her story with PCO. You can connect in any number of ways. Like, you don't have to be a babyface to go out there and connect. You can go out there and connect as a heel. Tessa went out there and connected as a heel, and whether some of that is, like, real heat, as far as, like, people being pissed that she did racist things or whatever it was, blah, blah, blah. I don't know, perhaps, but again, so what in some regards? To me, like, I get that. Again, that's probably not exactly right, but again, it's just like, well, it's kind of working, so I don't know. It's like, I think fans do realize, again, like, there is this difference. Like, there is this difference between, this is a performance, this is the show, and you're kind of not just allowed to boo or whatever, but you're sort of encouraged to boo when you feel like, man, this is what we kind of feel. We kind of don't get to, fully express that as much as what we might want at times and whatnot. So, it is what it is. So this is them letting the fans, like, do what they want to do there in that regard. So that is good, to let the fans, say what they kind of want to say and whatnot, but give them a reason, not just to be like, boo, 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 boo earns, be like, yeah, but like we're gonna see some stuff. What's uh, what are we gonna see? How are we gonna see it? And like it starts becoming like again now it's starting, the other way. It's like who the heck does you know Tessified? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, and you've got to starting to think about sticking her in that main or sort of theme knockouts main event scene. So, and it sort of does suck a little bit because it is like, well, this person's injured and that person's out, and now we've had to bring this other person in. Maybe you could think about again, perhaps bringing someone from NXT in to have Tessa work with them. I don't know, like it's tough, isn't it? Because it's like, as I said, even though they've filled out the roster a little bit, it's still like, as I said, it feels like you just need to get like away from this tag team division sort of stuff, because then she'd have Luna and Threat to easily fight against very easily, because that would be at least something, for a little while perhaps. You've got Li Ling Li, maybe, I don't know. Like it has felt like Li Ling Li has that peg on her shoulder in some way of being like, oh yeah, she's just pegged for being like already being in contention for the title. So that could work. I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting to see those two kind of go at it in some way. But it's sort of also a bit difficult in some regards because I don't know. It does feel like who everyone needs to work with. Like you need to have everyone on the same page and say, hey, look, this is the decision we've made. It might not be a popular decision with some of y'all or whatever else it is. And the same with the internet wrestling community or the wrestling community as a whole. But the thing is, this is what we're doing, and this is the decision that we made, and you've all got to sort of live with it because this is the decision that we've made as of right now, just because we're in a position that we have to figure something out. And we're going to try to make this work for everyone. And she's coming in to work, and we're all going to benefit from this, and we're all going to remain professional and whatnot. In this time, that sort of thing has to be laid down, and I'm sure it has been to some extent. But yeah, I still feel like there is perhaps some negativity in regards to that within the locker room or whatever. But again, it's just like, well, we know, the situation is what it is, and so, and they've made this decision. Perhaps we don't agree with it or whatever, but still, this is the decision. So, whatever. This is where we're at, and we have this deal or this agreement in place, and well, we're gonna go from there. Again, I think the like already just by doing what she's done and some having the promos and some of the stuff that like the impact that she's had, even though that it received some negative press, like people are genuinely interested in some way, in some regards, and seeing this, like I don't know whether it's almost like that car crash type fascination type thing. I don't know, but it's kind of like again this thing where it feels like, oh, how are they going to fuck this up or whatever type thing, I guess, to an extent. But the thing is, they haven't. Like, people might not agree with what they've done, again, but to say directly that it's just a fuck up, just to say, oh, we're going to bring this person in, well, then you've got to point to every single thing that WWE did in regard to Hulk Hogan and bringing him in and then bringing him back in and whatnot, as a fuck up. I mean, I know, again, he wasn't an in-ring talent and whatnot wrestling and might not have been on TV every week, but again, and the same thing for now, like, again, they brought him back again to the same basic result of people going, hey, we don't like this dickhead. You know, so, and perhaps that was the setting and whatnot. It was in California, one of the most liberal cities in the world. So it's like, well, like, come on, what are you doing? But again, like, still, direction is direction, and either you go with it and try to, kind of make it work for you and use that momentum that people, or that sort of feeling that people naturally have, and work with it and try to make money out of it, or you go, well, let's, like, you could obviously leave it alone, but like, or you just go with going, well, people hate this person, like, what are we meant to do? They legit hate this person. And actually, it was funny, or not funny, but it was amazing in some ways to see that Josh Alexander promo where they were booing him, like, in the beginning of that promo, and like somewhere halfway in that promo, the fans, not all the fans, but some fans still were booing, but whatever. Most of the audience kind of turned around a bit, like, he got them, he, was speaking from the heart, speaking the truth, and whatnot, and that sort of thing. So again, that resonated with the people, and they, no, not bought it, but, they knew that this is, not just him saying shit in character in some ways. This is, especially because he's leaving, and it's like, hey, I just want to leave on the right note and say thank you to you all and blah, 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 and all that. So the fans, I think, felt that, and they were like, all right, we like you, and we want to, you to leave on the right note too. So yeah, come on, and yeah, I'm interested to see what Sinner and Saint do, because I do feel like they're probably winning next week's match. It doesn't make any sense for Josh or EY to go over Sinner and Saint. Like, it really doesn't. It makes sense for them to lose, and that'll help them. It'll help put them over and help make them feel like maybe they can start challenging for the tag team titles at some point down the road. They haven't really wrestled a whole heck of a lot. They need more opponents, and they need more matches, and they need more wins under their belt, but still it could feel like they would be in that position soon. I don't think that they're going to win it, but again, like, I wouldn't mind seeing them win it at some point later down the road, but again, probably not right now. But again, there isn't many people that are there right now that you could say these guys should win it, or those guys should win it, or whatever it is. But yeah, I do feel like that's, to go with them, and I don't know what more you could make of it. Maybe Macklin and EY also wrestle them. I don't know. I don't know. It does become difficult to go from there. But again, you could put them just back into that tag team picture and have them wrestle the Rascals, or have them wrestle someone else. I think the Rascals are going to be busy with Wes and his crew or whatever else. So, but yeah. Guys, I am hyped as well. I think all of you guys are hyped as well. For more, and I think that, this is what we wanted in many ways. This is what we wanted to show people. TNA has a lot of great things, and it can bring a lot of great things. People were, and I was feeling like the same way of saying, oh, the roster's getting a bit thin right now. But thing is, again, like, they've got all this money that, will be over from a bunch of contracts, either expiring or whatever else it is, that they're not, they're not paying these people out like PCO and Jordan and Josh and whatnot. And yes, they just signed Mustafa Ali and they just signed this Mansoor guy, whoever his name is. And again, they're bringing over some NXT people or whatever, but they don't have, I'm sure they have some sort of deal of paying people with WWE and whatever. So, but again, they've got to do that. They've got I like Cody Deaner in some ways, but I do think that he hasn't wrestled in a long time, and it's sort of he's gotten on in years, and he probably got a bit screwed over by not getting his build at the time. Like, a lot of people didn't get the build at the time that they probably should have done. But still, you can't do much with him. And there's a lot of guys you can't do much with. They're in that position of saying, well, this is the position that I'm at, and this is probably the position that I'm going out as. Now, it's like Kaz is there. You could do, one last big run for him, perhaps. I think he is on that train of going, well, time to have one last sort of big run and wrap it up and whatnot, as well. I kind of feel like you should have both. I think you should have both Daniels and Kazarian go into the TNA Hall of Fame this year. I kind of feel like that makes sense to me as big time fan, because they're both very connected to each other. They've been tag team for years and whatnot. And Daniels has been a big mentor to Kaz and whatnot, being the big mentor to a lot of people, really. But again, I feel like that makes sense, honestly. And obviously Daniels deserves to go in the TNA Hall of Fame. But yeah, it's tough because it's well, are you going to put them together as a tag team? I don't know. I feel like Daniel should go in by himself, and I think Kaz should go in by himself, but they should go in at the same time. But if you're going to put Daniels in, you should really put Styles in as well, because it's well, they have even more connection, type thing. And it's if you think Daniels, you think AJ. You think AJ, you think Daniels. They had that big rivalry, and I really wish that they could have run it back one more time as well in many ways. Or that Daniels could have got a title match, one more title match in TNA, or even won the title, as well, because he never won it, which was just one of those things that seemed like it was going to happen every single time. It was just didn't happen for some reason. But again, yeah, I think this, as we just say, this was the thing we needed. This is what people needed to see. We need to show them. This is a good show. It's got a lot of good things going for it. Even if the one thing that was there that was probably not as on par perhaps with everything else, still it's okay, well, what's going to go on with this? In a sense, Callahan now has to fight this new guy and probably has to put over this new guy in this sense, because it's well, it was probably going to be PCO, but now it's Callahan, so, and again, they had to make those decisions. Are we just going to bin the digital media title, within probably a week? And what are we going to do with this 23 thing? And how are we going to debut that person or whoever it is or whatever it is? And then doing all that, and I'm sure they were talking with a lot of these people like Matt Cardona, and with Mustafa Ali and all these other people that were and Steph, and it's like, okay, where are you at? Can you come over and do this thing and whatnot? And it's like, again, like, no one knew that, like, um, uh, Ali was going to be there. No one knew that Cardona was going to be there. There weren't any reports beforehand to spoil any of this. So it was, all these things were actually surprises. Even though this surprise, the surprise of the 23 perhaps wasn't as big, just because, again, it's not a person that most people know, whatever, didn't quite hit or whatever, but still, it's like, it's with Steph, so there's a story there, and she's the champ now, apparently, and whatnot, so it's like, okay, well, what's going on? How, like, where is this going? And it's like, you sort of have to kind of give Steph a good run with it, with that title now, because it's like, well, you want that title to feel like something, you like, I don't know why sometimes it sort of fell off the radar or whatever else again, but sometimes things do that, like the Knockouts tag titles have fallen off several times here and there as well, where somebody was sick or injured, or they just didn't make the tapings or something else, or they just didn't have anything for them to do, because it was like, well, we don't really have any tag teams for you to work with. And again, that's just, again, the problem. But again, like, now that you have that money, now that you have that, perhaps time that's not dedicated to, like, Jordan or Josh or whatever else it is, perhaps that is for this next week or whatever, as far as Josh is concerned, but still, like, you will have more time, you will have more space to dedicate hopefully, more things to all these other people that need it. Or you need to have another show of some sort. Make Explosion better, dudes. Like, that would be good, because then you've got, again, something where people do feel like, it might be the quote-unquote B show, but at least, like, they have something to kind of do on a week-to-week basis. Like, they have a dark match to have, or whatever else it is, So you have something for Tasha, you have something for all these people that aren't on the show, perhaps, or whatever else it is. It is tough, but yeah. Anyway, guys, I enjoyed this show. I think everyone, many people as I've seen, have enjoyed this show, tuned in, and a lot of people tuned in for the first time, or the first time in many years as well. So it just proves that, again, like, the reach is there, and people can and will tune in, if there is a reason to tune in, so yeah, but yeah, it's all good. We've got to keep that momentum going, and we've got to keep, hitting it out. They keep hitting it out of the park, but we've got to help them hit it out of the park to get more people going, holy crap, they hit it out of the park, like that realization that it's not just all doom and gloom, or people saying, oh, the WWE is going to buy TNA or whatever else. No, probably not. Like, and I don't know how many times that stupid rumor of WWE is going to buy TNA any day now has come up in the last 22-something friggin' years. But yeah, anyway, guys, hope you've enjoyed this one as well, and hope you will join me again in the next one.